Oil's been trading above $60 US in North America, near three-month highs, after the Americans and the Chinese announced that Phase 1 trade deal. Of course, we are awaiting more details on the agreement. We're joined from the trading floor in Chicago by Scott Bauer, CEO of the Prosper Trading Economy. Scott, if you could generalize, are commodities traders taking this Phase 1 trade agreement at face value, or are they skeptical?
Very skeptical, very cautious. Now, it's interesting because oil is trading at a three-month high, really at the high end of the range that it's traded in. And I think almost what is more important to oil sustaining up here above 60, Andrew, is some of the economic data that just came out of China, which was much better than expected. Industrial output, retail sales. Even though 2020, growth is supposed to be pretty dismal, that's what's buoying it here. But I think when you break it down, Andrew, and you look at fundamentals and you look at what the EIA and API reports just were with the big glut and big build here, that's what is making traders so skeptical.
What commodity would you say is most sensitive? I mean, copper leaps to, well, let's start off with oil. What is your outlook on oil right now? Does it have a good prospect of staying above $60, Scott?
No, in fact, most of the traders that I know are fading this rally here, as I am as well. I think it's going to be very, very difficult. Now, we'd all like to see it up here because that would mean that obviously the resolution, or at least some sort of resolution between the U.S. and China, is really in play and global growth is getting better here. But, listen, the writing seems to be on the wall fundamentally and almost like a buy the rumor, sell the news type of event going on in oil.
What about copper? Presumably that's going to be vulnerable if this trade deal turns out to be a nothing burger.
That's for sure. No question about it. We have seen a little bit of a rally. Housing numbers are going to come into play. They've been a little bit better, but yes, if this winds up being a big nothing burger, like you just said, look out below.
You think the U.S. dollar, we're looking at copper now, and it has had a pretty good move, still shy of that $3. I mean, the U.S. dollar's been weak, and that helps commodity prices. That's in part the reason for the rally in copper. But you think the U.S. dollar has a good chance of rebounding?
I really do, and it's been strong all year. There is some weakness right now, and if you look at many of the other world currencies against it, take a look at the pound, take a look at the Canadian dollar, the Aussie dollar, et cetera, et cetera. They're really strengthening versus the dollar. However, I think after this minor pullback that we've seen here, the dollar is going to strengthen in the first quarter of 2020, probably go back to that 98-ish level, which if that happens, is going to really put some pressure on the commodity space.
You're talking about the dollar, the DXY, the DXY, the dollar index getting back to around 98.
Exactly.
What about palladium? I got to ask you about that. Maybe I could ask the control room to put up PALL, which is the palladium
off the charts
ETF. Yeah, it's just gone ballistic, as they say in the artillery world.
Right. It's been probably the biggest momentum trade out there in the commodity space, and quite frankly, from a technical and or fundamental standpoint here, there's nothing in its way with why it can't keep going higher.
Oh yeah, we're looking actually at a spot price for palladium. It's dipped. It's not quite at that $2,000 level. You think that it may have room to run, palladium?
I do. 2000 is, these big round numbers are typically an inflection point. They're psychological resistance, psychological support. I think once it tests that again, it's going to break through it. I really do.
Scott, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. Have a wonderful week. Always appreciate your time.
You as well. Thank you.
Our guest has been Scott Bauer, of the CEO at the Prosper Trading Academy.